Hi everybody. In the previous video, we created a detail page for the posts, with a function for the author to make them private or public, or to delete them. And we created a basic profile page. In today's video, we're going to create a like or unlike function for the post. As we don't want the page to refresh when a user likes or unlikes a post, we will use an asynchronous JavaScript, aka Ajax, and task. Similar as we did in the signup function, to see if a username already exists. Important. We will make a Django task first, with a page refresh, to fall back on, in case the user has JavaScript enabled. We will also have a look at the user profile card to display the username and total likes received. Lastly, we will update the VPS. Before we start, we need to show you an amendment we did on the user model. To make our life easier, we're going to delete user underscore on all fields. We renamed the hearts received to likes received. And amended the naming in our total followers function. In the admin file, we amend the user creation date field name in our customization class. And in our detail task, we amend the author followers field name. And saving our work. As we are still early in the project, there is no further impact of the model changes. We can now make the migrations. As we did not add fields to the model but only changed their names, we are prompted to confirm each change. Done. Now we migrate. Looks good. Starting the development server to see if the application is still working. And it does. We're going to add our code now. We have opened two browsers. In this one we are signed in as admin user. In the other, an incognito, we are signed in as test user. As the only post left is set to private, we first make it public with the test user account, which is the author. Done. Let's check the change in our detail page task. As our detail page needs to know if a user, aka myself, already liked the post or not, we will check this in our task and pass the result in a context box. We define a variable, you liked, and set its standard to false. Consider this an assumption that the user, aka myself, didn't like the post yet. Then we check if myself is in the list of users that liked the post. If true, we change the variable you liked to true. As this variable is on top of the task before all the rest is executed, we can pass it anywhere we want. So we pass the result in a context box both for public and private posts. Let's have a look how we use this result in our detail page. As seen in the previous video, the button is only visible for signed-in users that are not the author of the post. If true, the users will get a submit form with the action tag linked to the URL name of the task. We added Django to the task name as we will also make an Ajax task. We focus on the Django task first as this is a crucial one in case the user has JavaScript enabled. And we pass the slug of the post. Next the required CSRF token. And now our passed variable, you liked, comes into play. If true, we will show a submit button with the red firebrick color, indicating we already liked the post. We also check if there are any likes. If true, we show the number. By the way, we could have inserted the count without the check, as this scenario implies there is at least one like already, from myself. In case the variable is false, and we didn't like the post yet, we show a submit button with a gray color, as the one you see now. And we do the same check on the likes count. If any, we insert the count. Closing our if-else statement and the form. Onto the URLs file. We added unique characters between the domain name and the passing of the slug. Whenever the user visits the URL or submits the form, the task will be executed. We also gave it a name which we used in the form. Onto the task. For the Django task, no extra tools were imported. It's wrapped in the login required function, which stops any not signed-in users from trying to like or unlike the post by using the URL. The name of the post, freely chosen. We pass the slug together with the request. We store the user in a variable myself and retrieve the post with the getObject or 404error function. Reminder, we will learn how to catch this error later in the tutorial. Although the author of the post will not see a like button, they can try to like it by using the URL. So we check if the requester of the task is the author. If true, we redirect, no exceptions. Also, when a post is private, non-followers of the author can't access the detail page and therefore can't access the like button. But that can't stop them from trying to like the post by using the URL of this task. So we insert this check and redirect in case the post is private and the user is not in the author's followers list. No exceptions. Now in case the requester of the task is signed in, is not the author of the post, and in case of a private post, is a follower of the author. The rest of the task will be executed. We check if the user is in the list of persons that liked the post. If true, we remove the user from that list by the remove function. No save needed as the remove also saves the change. And we deduct one like from the author's likes received. Reminder, we can access this field because of the foreign key relation to the user model set on the author field of the post model. For this change, a save is needed. In case we are not in the list of users that liked the post, we can simply add the user to the list with the add function. No save needed. And we add one like to the author's likes received. A save is needed. In both cases, the user will be redirected to the detail page task, which updates the database, which in turn gives the variable you liked a new value, which then decides which button the user will see on the detail page. And with this, the loop is closed and the process can be repeated upon request. Let's test the function by clicking the like button. It works. With a page refresh, the color changed and the count went up. We liked the post. And another click to unlike the post. Also works, our button changed color again and the count went down. Let's like it again and see how it looks in the author's account. Switching browser and refreshing the page. We see the like. And on the profile page of the author, we now see the likes received and a colored heart. Same on the snippet. Let's do some more testing. We will try to like the post as author by using the URL of the task. Works as expected. A redirect with a message and no impact on the color or count. Now we make the post private and try to unlike it with the admin account. Works as expected. A redirect and a message. And when checking the private post in the author's account, we see no impact. We tried to like the private post as author of screen. Also works. Now making the post public again, so that we can unlike it as admin user and see the impact. Switching to the author's account. Refreshing the page. And we see the changes. Same on the profile page, we see the changes. All seem to work. We can now add the Ajax function to accomplish the same results, but without a page refresh. It took us quite some efforts to get this working. Hopefully we can explain it in such a way that it makes sense and helps you along your way. In our form, we added some IDs so that the tags can be retrieved by the JavaScript. The first one is for our form, we named it likesForm. Without this ID, the script will never execute, and without JavaScript, this ID will not be retrieved. In both cases, the form falls back on our Django task. The next ID is to retrieve the class of the icon as we want to obtain its color. We put the same ID on the icon in our else statement. So depending on the state it's in when a user enters the detail page, gray or red, we will have our JavaScript check the color and take action. Lastly, we gave the total likes an ID, named total likes. We will have our JavaScript insert the number which it will get from the task in the backend. Let's scroll down to the JavaScript. First, we retrieve the fields of our three IDs and store them in variables. Then we use a function to listen what is happening with the form. If there is a post submit happening, the next function will be executed. The E stands for event and can be understood as follows. We pass the submit event to the function and cancel its default action, which is submitting the form. This prevents a page refresh. It doesn't mean we're not going to submit the form, but we'll do it in another way using Ajax, which is part of the jQuery library which contain tools made with JavaScript. In our Ajax function, we first define the type of submit, which is a post. Then we define the URL and task and pass the slug, in exactly the same way as we do with Django in the action tag of a form. Then we serialize the form, which basically means we are converting it to a data package with a format that can be used by other programming languages. The format used is JSON. Ajax will push the package to our backend task, which will process the form and send results, in JSON format, back to the frontend as a response. If a response is successfully received, Ajax will unpack it so that we can work with the data. One of the results added to the response is the total likes of the post. And with this statement, we can access it and insert it in the corresponding variable. The other result we added is, if the user liked the post. As we added the true or false as characters to the response, we check the value using the quotation marks. Now let's see what is going on here. As no page refresh happens when the form is submitted, we need to take into account the original state of the button when starting the task for the first time. If the first response is true, we know that the user didn't like the post yet when entering the detail page and was therefore in the else statement in the form seeing the gray button. So we remove the gray and add the firebrick red. From there on the script can do the thinking itself and will add and remove colors depending on all responses that follow. This continues until the page is refreshed. In contrast, if the first response is false, we know that the user already liked the post when entering the detail page and was therefore in the if statement in the form seeing the firebrick red button. So we remove the firebrick and add the gray. From there on the script can do the thinking itself again and add and remove colors depending on all following responses. The user will remain in the if statement in the form until the page is refreshed. See in the form what happens. The user enters the page. If he or she didn't like the post yet, which we defined in our detail page task, they will be in the else statement seeing the gray button. So our JavaScript will work on this button, adding and removing colors, until the user refreshes the page. And in contrast, when the user already liked the post when entering the page, we know he or she is in the if statement seeing the red button. And the script will work on this button until the page is refreshed. Hope this made some sense. Now let's go to the URL page of the task. We added unique characters between the domain name and the passing of the slug. Whenever the user visits the URL or submits the form, the task will be executed. We also gave it a name, which we used in our Ajax function. On to the task. We import the JSON response tool. Our Ajax task looks a lot like the Django task, with a few changes. It's wrapped in the login required function, blocking non-signed-in users to execute it. The name of the task, freely chosen. We pass the slug with the request. We store the user in a variable myself and retrieve the post with the get function using the slug. We again check if the requester of the task is the author of the post and redirect if true, both for their public and private posts. No exceptions. And if the post is private and the requester is not a follower of the author, we also redirect them. No exceptions. Now we define a variable, you liked Ajax, and set it default as false. In characters. Next code is again familiar. We check if the user already liked the post. If true, we remove them from the list and deduct one like from the author's likes received. In this case, the uLiked Ajax variable is not changed and remains false. In case the user did not like the post yet, we add them to the list and add one like to the author's likes received. And we change the uLiked Ajax variable to true in characters. Next, we define a variable total likes and retrieve the number by calling the total likes function from our post model. Lastly, when the total likes is 0, we don't want to output this, so we assign empty characters to the variable in case it is. The task ends with returning a JSON response while adding the variables. Note how it's done. And revisiting the JavaScript to see how we catch the variables. You see the connections? Let's test. We're going to push the like button. And it works. Color and count updated, no page refresh whatsoever. Pushing the button again to unlike. Also works. Color and count updated without a page refresh. Liking the post again and checking the impact in the author's account. And we see the changes. Now, let's try to like the post in the author's account by using the URL. Works. Redirected with a message and no impact. Making the post private and again trying to like it as author. Works. Redirected with a message and no impact. Switching to the admin account again and refreshing the detail page. As expected, we are redirected to the home page as the post is private and we are not a follower of the author. And now trying to like the private post by using the URL. Also works, no impact as we can see in the author's account. One last time. Making the post public again. Unliking it in the admin's account. And checking the impact in the author's account. All seems to work fine. Let's have a quick look to the user's profile card to display the username and likes received. As a reminder, the task. We request the user and all their posts and add them as context to the render of their profile HTML page. We include a separate HTML page on the user's profile page to keep things clean and organized. It will look like a card showing all public information of the user. For the time being, we only show the user's name. And if the user has likes received, we insert the count. For good order's sake. Myself is the variable passed in the profile task, and is the requester of the task. As this can literally only be yourself, you can never see other users' information. Later in the tutorial, we will create a task to see the profile page of others. We will now update the VPS. We navigated into our project directory. And we'll do the same in the command prompt. Activating our virtual environment. Now we can drag and drop our files into the server. We start with the admin, models, URLs and views files from the Accounts app. As we did changes in all of them. Next, we upload the URLs and views file from the blog app. And lastly, our static and templates folder. Now we need to make the migrations for our user model changes. As expected, as we did not remove or add fields, but just renamed them, we are prompted to confirm each name change. Done. Now we migrate. Looks good. We deactivate the virtual environment. And restart G-Unicorn as we did changes in Django. Done. Refreshing the homepage to see if all still works. It does. We will do some testing of all tasks off screen. All should work fine. Thanks for tuning in. And we hope to see you in the next video.